So some compounds have two hydroxyl groups, and those are known as dialcohols, or actually more commonly diols. And let's take a look at some of their common names in the IUPAC name. And in the IUPAC name, excuse me, the carbon chain, that is the alkane root name, must contain both hydroxyl groups, and the hydroxyl groups are numbered so they have the smallest possible numbers. So let's look at some examples to get our head wrapped around this. If we look in the top left-hand corner, we see 1,3-butane diol. So the longest carbon chain that contains both hydroxyls, 4 carbons, so that's where their butane comes from. Diol is our suffix because there are 2 hydroxyls, and we number to give the smallest possible number to the hydroxyl group. So this will be our 1 carbon, that will be our 3 carbon. Next to it, 2-methyl-1,2-propane diol. So let's take a look at this. The longest carbon chain that contains both hydroxyls is propane, and so this has to be this 3-carbon chain, not this 3-carbon chain, but this 3-carbon chain that contains both hydroxyls will be our root. So that's propane. And we give our hydroxyls the smallest possible number, so 1, 2, and on that 2 carbon we also have a methyl. Now this has a common name of isobutylene glycol. So glycol is a common name we use when there are hydroxyl groups on 2 carbons that are adjacent in the backbone. So now we look at this compound using our IUPAC nomenclature, 2 carbons. So that's going to be ethane. Diol will be the suffix since there are 2 hydroxyl groups, and 1,2-ethane diol. And this has a common name of ethylene glycol. Next to it we have 1,2-propane diol. Again, we give the hydroxyl groups the smallest number. So here's our 1 carbon, here's our 2, and this has a common name of propylene glycol. And then down here we have a substituted hexane diol. So the longest carbon chain that contains the 2 hydroxyl groups is 6, so that's hexane diol, and we don't care about giving this branch the smallest possible number. We want to give our hydroxyls the smallest possible number. So this is going to be our 2 carbon, this will be our 4, and our methyl will be on the 5. So this is 5-methyl-2,4-hexane diol, not 2-methyl-3,5-hexane diol. So we've got to get in the habit of making sure that our hydroxyls have the priority to always get the smallest possible number. And then here's a slide that just reiterates what I said about the glycols. That's a common name when the 2 hydroxyl groups are on adjacent carbons. And in general, IUPAC will accept ethylene glycol and propylene glycol, but those are the only 2 that we tend to use the common names for.